Hey, super excited for another edition here with Dr. Lindsay and Amy Reisner. Super excited to bring you this podcast. A lot of great information coming your way. This is the Vital Wire. All right, Amy, grateful to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
There we go. There's the first laugh of the podcast. So I am just going to kind of lead off with, this is not one of my strong suits, what it is you do. So
Me either.
yeah.
My husband would tell you the same.
So I'm excited to hear a little bit more about what it is you do, but first, I just kind of want to hear a little bit of your story. How did you get here? Where did you grow up? Tell us the goods before we jump into what it is you actually do.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me again. I am from North Carolina originally.
Okay.
I haven't lived there in 20 years, but I've actually been in Missouri for 10 years. But I grew up as a pastor's daughter, so I moved quite a bit as a young kid, and then I married a Marine, so I kept moving in my adult life. And so my background is a lot of, I graduated in hospitality management because I like talking and I like being with people and helping people. And I also have administrative background experience. And so, of course, being military, because you move so much, that's not like a great that's not like a great environment to be able to be an entrepreneur and start your own business. And I can honestly say I never really wanted to own my own business. I just wanted to work for somebody and just go organize. Because when I was young, I said, people ask, what do you want to do when you grow up? Well, I didn't want to be a pastor, and I didn't want to be a missionary like my dad wanted me to be. But my mom was in the legal field, and I didn't want to do anything like that either. So I was like, well, I guess I'll graduate. I'll go to school for business management, because what else do you do, when you don't know what to do? So I did that, and I said, really, if I could do anything and get paid for it, I would just organize for people if they would pay me.
Okay.
So I knew back in, the late 90s, that was my dream job.
Really?
Yeah. And of course, actually, the National Association for Professional Organizers has been around since like late 80s, really. So it was around. It just started in the Northeast, and before back then, it was before the internet. So we just weren't aware of all of like the professions that were already out there. So anyways, fast forward to about 7 years ago was when I started organizing. When I moved here 10 years ago, I met another girl who I still work with today at church, and I said, we had 2 baby carriers next to each other, and I said, what do you do? Or what did you do before babies, right? She's like, I'm a professional organizer. I went, oh, shut up.
Really?
So I said, can I pick your brain? Can I buy you coffee? And so we just kept in contact. We remained friends, and as our kids got older, our kids actually are still friends today. I started working with her a few years ago, and then I just kind of I blossomed in my own thing. So so that's how I am where I am.
Wow.
Love that.
So just a God thing all the way through.
Yes.
Just all
Yes.
fell in your lap, all came together.
Yes.
That is super
I think it's
cool.
my calling.
So
Awesome.
I have one very selfish, specific question for you. Where at in North Carolina? Did you?
Well, I moved around a lot.
Sure,
but my parents were high school sweethearts, grew up in Taylorsville, so mostly the Charlotte area, so NASCAR country for sure. My
You knew what I was getting
You do
at.
where it's going.
And my parents are in Mooresville now, so I actually did, that's NASCAR
Yep.
core.
Yep. Super cool. I've got a lot of friends in Mooresville, Lake Norman.
Yep.
Yep. So definitely NASCAR USA. Okay, enough about NASCAR.
Yes.
So talking about organizing and what you do, like if you had to sum it up real quick, like what do you do as a professional organizer?
I help people overcome their overwhelm, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful way to put that.
Yeah. Well, and that's why, and I talk about this all the time, I've told my whole team this too, is I'm a pretty clean person. Like I'm a clean person. I want to be organized, but I'm definitely one of the people that ends up, like you can look at my computer right now and I've got folders for folders for folders for folders thinking I'm being organized. So like organization I'd love to be good at. I know I'm not. So
And I'm worse.
So with the overwhelm, what are some of the what's the first thing you look at when somebody's in that overwhelm and you're going in to help them with the organization of and really what are you organizing? What's some of the first things you look at? What's number one?
Well, the number one thing that I look for.
Like if I'm going to work with you, what's
Yeah.
the first thing you're going to ask me or the first thing you're going to look for in order to work with me? Like what do I have to help him with?
Why did you call me? What is overwhelming you? What's your biggest pain point right now? What keeps nagging your brain that you just can't get past? And sometimes it's literally paralyzing you to the point where you can't move past it, or you're just so focused on it, hyper focused, that you're like, I can't get past this. I need help.
Yeah.
So really, it's the question of the person.
Right. Okay.
Sometimes it's organizing objects. Sometimes it's transitional, though. Sometimes it's people are moving and they've been putting things off. Maybe they've lived in their home for 20 more years and so they don't have to deal with it. People like to put off things that they don't want to deal with.
Resistance.
Yeah, they get to
Procrastination.
procrastinate. Yeah, and especially here in Missouri, we have basements, and so when you put things in the basement, it just goes away. It disappears, out of sight, out of mind, and they don't have to deal with it until they have to deal with it. And so when you're moving, you have to deal with it. You need
It's like she's talking about my life.
You're gonna have to pack it. You're gonna have to move it. You're gonna have to pay to move it, or physically move it yourself.
Yep.
And then you've got to unpack it into this new space. And so that's just situational organization,
Yeah.
right? And so some people, those sometimes are my favorite clients to work with, the ones who are forced, because they're ready. Mentally, they're ready. Emotionally, not always, but I can help them get there. Like I'm their support. And sometimes it's nice to have a third party, somebody that's not invested in your interests, but more so your goals to help you, because people also feel judged in there. There's a lot of emotions that go on with organization and disorganization.
What you said about the basement, or even, I know for some people it's the garage. They put things in, like out of sight, out of mind. That is totally what you do, especially when you have littles and they're constantly growing out of things, or whether it's toys or clothes, and you don't want to get rid of it yet, whether you're wanting more kids or you just don't want to get rid of it because some of it's sentimental, and so it goes to the basement and goes to the basement and goes to the basement, and then they're like 10 and the basement is full to the brim.
Right.
You just keep building shelves, or at least we do. I don't know about other
Yes.
people.
Yes.
But yes, I think that is a very important thing, because I feel like a lot of people, if it's something that's hard or challenging for them to do, they will just put it out of sight, out of mind, and procrastinate. So
Right.
I think people do that in more ways than one, but definitely in your sense with things.
Yes. Well, and it's funny you mentioned space too, because organization is not the same for everyone, right? It means it's different. Like, how much space do you have? If you have the space and you want to fill it up and it's organized because you have shelves and you
Right.
want to keep everything until you feel like you're going to be ready to let it go, it might not be a problem for you. But if if it's crawling up the stairs, then it's probably a problem,
Yeah.
right? and so people say, "Oh, I need a bigger house." Well, that's
right.
not always the
You just have more
solution.
places to put stuff.
So I keep saying this.
Just
I'm
start
like, we
putting
just
shit
need a
everywhere.
bigger house. And my husband's like, no, that just means it's more space for you to fill with things. And I'm
Right.
like, I know.
Yes.
I know.
Human nature. I would say human nature, but maybe some professional sociologist or someone who's more versed than me would maybe say Americans we're bred to fill our space. Like, we're just consumers overall. Like, we like full, but we don't like it, because if you look around the room, some people are overwhelmed by just the visual of everything too.
Absolutely.
So if that's a problem for you, then it's time to do something about it.
I get that.
But everybody's different.
Right, right, absolutely. Because when I think of organizing, whether, like you said, it's objects or things, but it's like, how outside of maybe the stereotype, oh, you can help me organize my boxes in my basement. But you can organize so many different things. You can think of a calendar, a schedule. How far do you go?
Yes. So I can go as far as your life. I can organize your life. Help you organize your life.
Please do.
Great, sign us up.
So yes, so there are. So like if you go to my website, it does kind of break it down into different categories. So there is the typical home organization, which has been more brought to the forefront of American culture now with the new organization shows, and thankfully now we have more places that you can shop products if that's what you like, to contain all of your things, all your stuff. But that is like organization of objects. Another category is called household management, where that's organizing more of your life. It is organizing your calendar. It's organizing your family. So it's really managing your household. How do you run your calendar? Is it efficient? And it's a lot like running a business calendar, right? Like if you want to be successful in your business, be successful in your family. And just like in business, you as the owner or the manager don't do every job yourself, right? You have employees.
Oh, you don't?
We keep telling him this.
Yes. Well, you can, but then you'll have burnout.
Exhausted.
That's not a part of the organization.
Right. You need to learn how to delegate. So every business owner needs to learn to delegate, just like every head of household needs to delegate to be able to have, resist like the burnout, right? So parents, like it's not just the parents' jobs or the mom's job or the dad's job to do certain things or everything, right? We have kids, and if they're walking and talking and they're making eye contact, you have understanding, they can have a job. I mean, little jobs, right?
Yeah.
But everybody's a member of the household, and everybody needs to take stock in ownership of the household. That's how, if we teach our younger generations
Yes.
how to be responsible and how to give objects homes or activities or events space in our calendar, proper space, not forced space. Oh, I can make that happen. I can squeeze that in here. That's cluttering up your calendar, and that's just as overwhelming as a cluttered house. So household management is really like sitting down with the family and talking about, okay, how do we want this family management to run smoothly so that everybody's happy and everybody gets to do a job that they enjoy. Because we all know that we're more apt to do the things that we enjoy doing.
Right. We will default to what brings us joy or is easy.
Yes.
One of the two.
Yes.
Yeah.
And different things are easy for different people,
Yeah.
right? Because we all have different gifts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's you've already brought up quite a few things that are in our nature and culture here, which you said right off the bat. Understanding the person, what are their goals, drawing out those goals, and what it is they're actually looking for. The intent for why, or that the fact that they're ready to do it. It's like, we're not going to force you. And there's just so many parallels that we even do here, which is refreshing, because what we're finding as we've started this, and this is still really young, is every guest we've brought on here and has really aligned with us. So it's super cool to hear how you're talking about with what you do in your business from the God-based family that you grew up in, which is super cool. But I just love how you go about really drawing out people's goals and their intent and making sure that they are ready. Like if you're ready to do this, I will help you execute this. And the fact that they're understanding that there are so many different ways and things in the gifts of people. There's, like you said, building a team, building a household, and raising a generation up behind us. It's just so good already, because we can't all do it, just one of us. And that's why I joked with even myself and Dr. Lindsay, like, we want to help and do so much even in here. We're organizing and delegating those tasks, but even taking it down to the family level and teaching, what the responsibility is and why and how that affects. I think that's a gold mine. What do you who do you find yourself working with the most? What do you find of those categories you just talked about? Do you have like like 90% of what I do is actually organizing the garage? Or
No, I think that's what I love so much about my job. And I'm a solopreneur right now. And I've toyed around like thinking about hiring employees, but right now I have access. We have a local St. Louis chapter of the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals. It's called NAPO. And a lot of us are solopreneurs. And so the great thing about that is like when we have clients that's just one-on-one, then we have our own clients. But every once in a while we do have clients that have high volume of things, in, like when you're talking about organizing objects. And it just needs more hands-on. And so we're able to team up and work with each other using each other's gifts. Because again, there are certain things that there are the organizers who really like to make things pretty, and then there are organizers who love just a big messy pile and they just like want to dive in and sort. And they love to sort. And so we all have, even us organizers who are kind of a different mindset. We say we're a little off, we're a little odd. But we all have those little differences with us too. So when we can play to our strengths and team up, we really are able to give the clients like the best of everything.
What's the one word she's describing right now?
Collaboration.
Yes.
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 Yeah. And I love that. And I have a question that's kind of off topic, even though we were getting into that. Have you ever, because you were talking about those people that have a lot of stuff, have you ever had like a hoarder house?
So no, I
or
have
one
been,
that you would qualify as a hoarder house.
I have been called to one legitimate hoarder house, which I referred out and said I would love to be on the team, but I myself am not qualified or really interested in leading that.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important that we know what niche we like, and I've been doing this for
That was my next
5
question.
years.
Keep going. That was my next question.
I'm just finishing my 5th year. And by myself. And I've worked on enough team jobs, which was great because then I was able to let somebody else be the leader, because I don't always want to be the leader either. Not always.
It's nice to have a little bit of a change up.
Well, it is. It's nice to just show up sometimes and say, okay, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? and just zone out, right? But I totally lost track of thought where I was going at.
The niche.
Yeah.
The niche. Oh yeah. So I really do enjoy. I'm sorry. I'm still just lost.
That's called
We were talking
passion.
about the hoarders, and then
Yes.
we were going into.
Oh yeah. I said I would like to be on the team. The team, and that actually never happened because I think that client actually fell ill and just something. I'm not even sure what happened because
so
I
sad.
referred it out. But I will say, like I enjoy working with. Well, earlier you asked the clients. I have a lot of senior clients. Most of them are single senior clients, either widowed or just single for whatever reason. And and it's funny, senior, I guess, technically is like anything 65, 67 and older.
Yeah.
Some of them are as like 80s, whatever, but that's fun, right? Because they just at a certain point in life, people just decide that they don't care what they say. They just say whatever. I'm like,
Talk about
No
genuine.
filter.
I'm like, but I want to be like that, like when I'm younger. I don't want to wait until I'm older.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So they're a lot of fun to work with. And I will say, like, their emotion, sometimes they get emotional, whatever. But I've learned through my experience over the past 5 years, I've learned that I have more patience than I ever thought that I had, which is kind of cool. So I really enjoy the one-on-one sessions. I do like the team jobs, but the one-to-ones where I feel like I guess somebody said this to me recently too, like, wow, like you relate, you're relatable, right? And I guess I've had enough life experiences that the ones that I really connect with are the ones that I can relate to or can relate to me. Sometimes we have like our stories not always perfect.
Yeah.
Like I tried to be a perfectionist in my previous life. Perfectionism does not work.
Yeah. Perfection's it's like control. It's an illusion.
Yes. Yes.
And as soon as you realize that's an illusion, and done is better than perfect in a lot
Yes.
of ways, and that, you know, there's nothing that you really can't go back and fix. And it's like, so
Right.
yeah, I mean, perfection is just like, yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
totally get that.
So sometimes when we go through hard things, it actually prepares us to help other people who are going through it behind you. So I have found some clients that I've been able to have that relationship with, which is my, the transactional clients where you're helping them move and things like that. That's great, because that uses my skills. And it's exciting, again, to just show up and just be a worker bee sometimes. But man, the relationship clients, like it just hits your heart, and you can see them release the stress. Like you can see the change that they make in their life, especially when it is a whole home organization transformation or a whole family, like household management thing, when I take them from objects to calendar to even life planning, right? Because like what you're talking about in your basement, keeping things from like for your kids and stuff. I'll work in some basements where the kids are in their 20s or their 30s even, and they have kids of their own. And we're talking about, why do you have these bins of things?
Yeah.
What are we holding these on for?
Right, because I'm thinking, and we have a conversation about that, because if they're your adult children, they probably, if it meant something to them, it would be in their home already. So it's just talking through, things like that.
I think that's so important. I think what you do goes beyond just organizing things. It's when you talk about organizing their life or setting them up for success in their home, that's so important. And I feel like a lot of people are missing that. I know that, especially as you add children to the mix. First, you've moved in with a person and you're combining lives a lot of times. You're combining stuff, and that's a whole problem. But how you work as a family, and then adding kids to that, you add things to the schedule, whether it's sports, whether it's school things, work things, you may be changing jobs, your role maybe changes in your marriage, maybe you become a stay-at-home mom, or vice versa, you go back to work. And so finding that balance in the schedule of life and how you guys manage your household and your things, whether for us it's mail. I'm sure you hear that. If I could hit an unsubscribe button to mail, I would do it in a heartbeat, because I hate mail. I hate piling up mail on the counter. So but those little things, and finding a system that works for you that can be reproduced for everyone in the family going forward as they grow and those different phases of life start, I think it's very stress relieving for the member of the household that takes that on the most, whether it's mom or dad or one of the older siblings that feels like they're constantly picking up their siblings' toys that are younger.
Right. Yes.
But I feel like that's so important, and a lot of people don't know that that's a portion of what you do. So I love that you mentioned that.
Yeah, systems, routines, but also give yourself grace too, because understand that systems are not meant, they're not gonna last a lifetime. I mean, organization and systems and routine are ever evolving. Like they change. Exactly what you said. Like with your life transitions, your life changes. You add a kid, you add a pet, or you take one away. Whatever it is, you're always changing. So your systems should always be changing too.
The only thing consistent is change.
That's right.
It's kind of a conundrum, but
Yes.
That's awesome.
the community side of things, like you're literally just speaking our language, and like from collaboration to goals to the niche to community. I mean, that's what you're saying, and the people, you can tell you're passionate about what you do because you want to get so much out so quick, and I can hear it in your voice.
I know.
But as you start to really narrow it in, it's like I just hear a lot of, building a positive effect for somebody's life, but which we're all really longing for, and you just really outlined it, and we're very clear with, it's that relationship and that community that really makes you whole in what you do. Like, yeah, transactional is great. Same like here. I love seeing people get very quickly well from an acute situation. I don't love watching them walk through the door and be, hurt or sick or whatever it is. And yeah, it's great to get them well so fast, but to build the relationship like we do here, and to have even the long-lasting community around us and the clients that we've had here for 5, almost 6 years now, it's like, watching them get and receive the value and understand the value, so you have enough time to really make a long-lasting relationship is super cool. So I love that that's kind of your thing, and what you really enjoy is it's like, man, that relationship is just very, very fun to build. So what would you say outside of just getting organized? Give us some of like just the quick bullet point benefits. Like if you're going to put out a flyer on, yes, it's going to make you more organized and more efficient, but talk about from a person's perspective. What does that give them as, from emotionally, physically? What are some of the benefits of, okay, now that I've got you organized, here's what you're going to experience as a person, as a family. What are some of those things?
You're going to enjoy home more, like your house and your home more as a sanctuary versus trying to run away from it all the time, right? A lot of people tend to like go where it's not, like where they're not stressed out. So your home will be your sanctuary, where you want to spend more time with your family. Because things are organized, you're going to be able to just go to that home and find it. You're not going to be spending all this time going, wait, where did I put that? And is it over here? Is it over here? I don't remember. Right. Where are we keeping it this month, right? Like there are some things that need to be consistent. And so that ultimately gives you more time. Just to spend on what you want to spend, and more money too, because as we lose things or we can't find things, the number of houses I've been in that we have, okay, well, I found this and I found this and I found, so this one item, which actually there are 3 items now, have 3 different homes because there was never one home, established. So once we sort everything, it's like you find all these multiples. You're like, okay, do you really need this many, or is it just no? Most people will say, no, I don't. It's just because I could never find the one. So I went and bought more. So it gives you back time, puts more money back in your wallet, so that you have money to spend on fun things or, fun objects. So
I am that person. And like I will, like even in the shop. So right now, like we're saving up to eventually move into a bigger area. I got a 3-car garage now, and half of it's taken up with race car stuff. And so like unfortunately things happen on the track, and I'm busting through the week trying to get stuff. And shit goes everywhere. And it, just like you're saying, but the organization, I will be the first one to be like, you know what? I need this. I know it's here somewhere. I don't have that kind of time. I will go buy it, and I'll end up with like 6 of the same thing. And it's just like, well, that's great. And guess what? I'll end up having 7 because stuff just flies all over the place.
It's scissors in our house. We have more scissors, and none of them are where you think they should be. And it's not a great plan to have with a 2-year-old either. I'm like, we have scissors. I've been trying to wrap presents. I have no idea where the scissors are, but I'm the same way. We're like, we are very similar in that aspect.
As long as it's not in the couch cushion, that's good. Because that
they're
might
somewhere.
hurt.
They're somewhere.
So, go with that one.
Okay. So what does a process with a new client look like for you? What is the beginning steps? Is that a phone call? Is that a come to the house or wherever and kind of go through things?
Yeah, so it does start with a phone call. Some people will reach out to me on my website because I have a form that they can just go ahead and push and say, here's my issue. I want to schedule an assessment, like a in-person assessment, which I also do too. But it always starts with a phone call, even if they fill out that form, because I want to hear their voice. I want to hear. I want to hear the sense of urgency or the lack of, or I want to just hear what they're saying and how they're saying
so
it.
Much.
I can.
Is this an emotional situation? Is this intent?
Yeah, and I can hear whether they're being, and sometimes it's hard to know whether they're being hard on themselves or if they're telling you the whole story, because it can go either way. Yeah. Sometimes people exaggerate. Sometimes they under-exaggerate. And that you can't really tell by voice. So if the actual job itself is something that I say, okay, I think the job itself is a good fit for me, then, and I don't, sometimes I feel like most of the time I don't need to see it.
Yeah. Sometimes
I might have questions and say, maybe I should come see you in your space. Let me just do an in-person assessment, and I will do that. And then we'll kind of take it from there. But usually I will say, let's go ahead and unless it's like a transactional thing where it's moving, then I do need to see it because I need to see the stuff and I need to know, to be able to give estimates on packing and unpacking, all of that. Moving is a completely different scenario.
Which you're good at.
Yes. I have plenty of experience in moving.
Before you were
including overseas, right? Like I know it all. Like I know all the moving tricks. But yes, but if it's just an organizing or household management client, it really is, okay, let's go ahead and set up a 3-hour session. And 3 hours is, I want to go into the details about how I got the 3 hours, but there is some scientific reasons behind that, and then also just experience with me. It works really well, right? So you just keep doing what works.
Yeah.
So 3 hours is just long enough that I'm able to see how the client processes things. I can read their emotions. And I learn more about them. Like in 3 hours, I learn a lot. So it's really just me like taking them all in. But also in 3 hours, we can get something done. And at the end of the 3 hours, almost every client is just like, whoa, I can't believe how much we got done in that little amount of time. Or, I feel so much better. And the feedback that you get in just 3 hours is great. Anything more than 3 hours sometimes can be emotional and physical draining, like mentally and physically, all three draining on the client, which me, I can just go. Because most of us can work in other people's stuff. Yeah. It's our own stuff and same thing with me. I moved this summer and I had to take breaks from myself, like by going to clients, like, let me just go work. I don't want to work on my own stuff, right? Because it was mentally and emotionally just draining. So anything over the 3 hours can get really tiring, and you don't want that to happen because you don't want the client to be making decisions based on exhaustion, fatigue, because then the next day or then they could what's the word I'm looking for? regret their decisions, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you don't want them to regret. You want them making decisions with a clear mind. Mm-hmm. So.
And I feel like too, having that 3 hour time frame, I think it's super good too. And like some of the scientific things, we don't have to go down that road, but it's almost like if you give too much time, then it can become like a hangout session too. And that person also, and we have a little bit of that here, and that's why being efficient with that time, that's a very good point.
Yeah, and that's my job, is to keep them on track. 3 hours is not usually hard to keep them on track. Usually, anything longer, you're right. Yeah. It is like, okay, are you getting a little bit tired now?
Yes. So, as we kind of wrap up and head home here, is there anything we can do to help you? Is there anybody that you need put in touch with? What is it you're looking for, or just even the listeners, who do you work with? Kind of a quick pitch on who do you work with? Is there anybody you're looking for to collaborate with in order to really grow your business and help more people? How can we help? How can our listeners help?
Well, just being on this podcast, one, was like a huge help, right? Getting me in front of the local community. I do a lot of work in St. Louis, but of course, like as prices rise and gas prices, I'd rather be spending more time with my clients than on the road getting to them. Mm-hmm. So I love more local clients, St. Charles County, Lincoln County, because I'm based in O'Fallon. So anything on this side of the river is great. Yeah. St. Louis is fine, but yeah, the more work I can do on this side, the more I'm like actually with clients instead of commuting. That'd be really helpful to me. Sure. Because I do try to keep a good work and then life balance myself with my kids. So my goal is to be able to not work. I want to say work less. I shouldn't say work less.
Well, work smarter.
Work more efficiently, right? Like spend my time where it's actually where I'm actually making money and getting paid instead of
absolutely.
So that honestly would be the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. Well, I've got a couple ideas already just based on. There's a resource I'll give you when we head off the air here. I'll give you a resource that we're involved with. I think is going to be right up your alley. But even some of the people that come to mind in our Rolodex and even in my personal life, I think I can put you in touch with a couple people that would feed right into your business, would be a good segue every time they work with somebody. So I'll get you some contact information there. How do we get a hold of you? How do the listeners get a hold of you?
My website is riseupstl.com. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, and my goal in 2023 is to do a little more with that. Again, that's not my strength. That's not my favorite part. My favorite part is being with the clients, not in front of a camera. But Instagram and Facebook at riseupstl. also.
Perfect. Well,
Love
your ideal clientele is scrolling those things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I look forward to seeing you more on those platforms because I'm the same. Like if I don't have to be on there, it'd be great. However, I think
Right.
I think that's a great goal. We're going to put some links in with the video and all across the platforms for you. Your website. We'll find your handles, your Instagrams, and everything. We'll make sure we plug all that in. And then you just let us know if there's anything we can do. Don't be afraid to ask. We want to be a resource for you as well as you continue to build your business and help more people organize not only their things, but their life, their organizations. So reach out to Amy. This has been super good.
Yeah.
Learned a lot
Thank
very
you.
quickly. And we look forward to building a further relationship with you as well. And have a great rest of your day. Hope you guys enjoyed. That's Amy Reisner, Rise Up STL, organization at its finest. She's got it covered. Reach out to her. We look forward to serving you. See ya.